Sports Guy Safari podcast. Welcome, everybody.
I don't avoid the question. Where were you swimming? It's not like it's freezing over here, so I wouldn't even think about swimming. What were you swimming for?
So, for everybody, welcome. We're going to, obviously the obscure chat we're going on with. Cambridge, 27 degrees yesterday. It was a bloody heat wave. And we discovered that the River Cambridge, where we're living in the UK, named Cambridge, bridge over the Cam. And the Cam turns out it's a bloody delightful place to go for a swim when it's a heat wave. And she was a bit chilly, but wasn't too bad. So, yeah.
Did you burn?
Pardon?
Did you burn today?
No, I'm a little tanned. Yeah, got a bit of a sunglasses tan happening. But anyway, so
I will back. I'll back you up there, Andrew. 27 would be about 45 in Australia. So
yeah, exactly. Thank you. Well, I guess we probably should get to the introductions. Guy Tyler, Michael Busby, Luke Jackson, Sports Guy Safari. I'm Andrew Coles. We've got GT and Buzz and GT Rally Adventures. Welcome, boys. How are we going?
Good, thanks, mate.
Yeah, very well.
Good to have you.
Good dinner already go.
All sorted. So, yeah, I guess we're going to bring these boys on. We've obviously we've all been, we go quite a way back, but and as we said, like the adventures and the fun stories that sort of surround rallying, especially at the grassroots level, are legendary. So we thought we'd get the boys. We've got some questions to put to them about actual genuine rally stuff, and we're going to hear some stories about some pretty cool stuff they've done, and then we're also going to probably devolve down into some service park malarkey and whatnot. So, why don't we start with a bit of an introduction?
Yeah. I mean, I'll go first. I'm Guy Tyler, known as GT, I suppose, from the old initials. Been rallying for at least 10 years, I suppose. Done, a lot around South Australia, a lot around the Australian Rally Championship, and I'm sure we'll get into it later. I did the British Rally Championship a few years ago, which was pretty exciting. Love the sport, live for it. Still want to do it for the rest of my life, and as long as rallying exists, really.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm the Buzz part of those adventures. My name is Michael Busby. Guy and I have been rallying pretty much the exact same amount of time. Like, literally, I reckon the first event I did was one of the first events he did. I mean, initially we started as mortal enemies, for dairy stations, cow stations. But yeah, so
That's it.
Racer, classic RX-7, tarmac gravel, did the Australian Junior Rally Championship together. Just whatever we could afford to do, we did. And sort of forged a great friendship from it too.
Fantastic. Well, I guess one point let's just get into this, because there's a really interesting sort of side note that I find that Guy's first rally car is something that's actually quite close to Luke and myself. We're Alfa Romeo people that are first and foremost, which typically, Alfa Romeo people and gravel rally don't really cross over that much. But Guy, was it your first rally car? What was it and how was it? Because I remember going, who's this kid out there in this?
I definitely didn't have a love of Italian cars growing up, and I had rallied. Club rallied, or I guess done a lot of club motorsport in Corollas and even a Commodore at some point. But yes, my first rally car, as surprising as it is, was a Alfa Romeo Alfa Sud, and Sud, just a Sud, right? It lasted a few rallies. I did my first ever rally in it back in 2009, Robertstown Rally. That was a kind of baptism of fire. Didn't really know what I was getting myself in for. I think we retired after about 3 stages because I'd put some dodgy Weber air filters on it, and it sucked in too much dirt and basically leaned out the motor.
I was just going to say, because of that, didn't you end up doing an engine rebuild?
Yeah.
It
was pretty costly. So yeah, didn't last
fantastic. Because I remember seeing it and I was like, amazing, someone's rallying an Alfa. I'm like, they must really know what they're doing. That's awesome. I wouldn't do that. That's fantastic.
About 6 months later, I saw the light and bought myself a Corolla.
I'm just going to throw you under the bus here.
Whoa.
So I was going to let you tell this story, but I specifically remember that engine reboot happening and it making less horsepower. Fresh motor made less.
That's because my mate was scared of the twin carbies and he put the single carbie manifold back on it. Yeah, no, it was all bad, and air fuel ratio mixtures on both exhausts, and it didn't blow up again, but we also didn't go real quick.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there's a few Corollas. Yeah.
I'll just share this because I was trying to find it the other day when I was going through some pictures and stuff and found the old Alpha in there. We're sitting next to it sort of the moment.
Strong.
Is that airborne?
That's if anyone knows, the Robertstown Rally in South Australia, a few hours north of Adelaide, has this classic stage called One Big Hill, and at the end of it, there's this big straight with 3 jumps in a row. This is probably the last and the biggest one. That's about all the air I managed to get that year. Unfortunately, I've done better efforts in following years, I suppose, but the Sud kind of struggled a bit, but it was good fun.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's that jump actually, obviously you see the sort of the quick cars, but you need to be going deceptively fast to like slow in rally speeds, but fast in sort of normal road driving speeds to actually even get anything more than a suspension sort of travel extension, really. So very good effort.
Yeah.
Good effort.
Well, after my abysmal kind of first rally car, I think Buzz should introduce his that he still owns.
So I drove my first rally car at high school. It was a 1983 Toyota Sprinter, 886, so the last of the rear-wheel drive Corollas. I just fell in love with it, and we took it rallying. It was a great car. Then guys saw the light later on board for racing. But just like everyone's seen the initial D and all of that. But I guess the motor racing heritage that the cars did have held up and showed through, and I haven't got rid of it. And I really don't see myself getting rid of it at all.
No, they're just a fantastic car. And I guess when you started rallying in the A86, that was really before they became the sort of the classic, highly coveted sort of car that they are today. That was still the 2-door Corolla, really. That was it, wasn't it?
That was I think I paid like $2,300 for it, which sets of headlights are going for $1,000 now.
Crazy. So,
What made you get that car?
At the time, so I really, really wanted a first-gen RX-7, and I just couldn't afford one. And I was talking with Dad, and we were working it all out, and he owned the single cam like Australian delivered car, which was rubbish. It had drum rear brakes and single cam carby, just a real base model, which is pretty typical for an Australian delivered car.
Yeah.
But he said they were great, and they raced them at Bathurst and twin cam and all that. So we found a few for sale, and we found my car, which you can see there. We had a cool set of Tom's wheels on it and some bits of suspension stuff, and I, banged that around the hills as much as I could. And it really, honestly, it taught me to drive, because that low power, lightweight, carry corner speed and all of that.
Yeah, and that's and did that still have the old 4AC? So obviously the Corolla, the famous sort of drift style, have the 4AGE, the twin cam, the sort of the good one. But the Australian delivered cars all had the single cam sort of wheeze box, didn't it? Did yours have that one, or did you eventually? Because you had a hot motor in that for a while, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So initially I had the 4AC in it, but we got rid of that pretty quickly. I think we did like two events with the first motor.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just rubbish.
Yep.
That quickly got taken out and the twin cam 4AG.
Yeah. Cool. Just to say, we've had a few comments just about the audio, so we are working on it. So we'll keep chatting. Luke's feverishly working in the background, getting the levels sorted. So we'll keep going. But GT, your mic seems to be the best. So why don't you give us a rundown for those obviously who've been around rallying? We take a lot of this sort of stuff for granted, but pace notes. What are pace notes, and how are they created, and how do you use them? Can you give them a bit of a rundown of pace noting for those who might not be aware exactly what goes into it?
Yeah, so I mean, most people would know of that silly bloke that sits in the passenger seat of a rally car reading a book on a rally stage. So he's basically reading what are pace notes, and they're pretty much a description of the road coming up. So, that enables us as rally drivers to be able to drive the road as quickly as possible, but also know what's coming up, and so we can drive safely as well. And most people kind of use a number system to determine like the angles of the corners, how sharp or tight or how open they are. All sorts of jargon that you can use. You could, use elephant left or Ferrari right, whatever makes sense to you to describe the road. Really, it takes many years to really get used to them and to develop your own system, I suppose. There are a number of I guess note suppliers are professional guys that write their own notes and sell them. More for Targa events, I suppose. You got Bernie Webb and Steve Glennie with Smoothline, and they sell their own notes. So guys that rock up in their Porsche to Targa Tasmania can kind of maybe still do one pass of reconnaissance using those notes, but it's not as hard and not as time consuming as writing their own. So yeah, do you want to add something, Buzz?
I think we need to share microphones.
Right.
Give you a cuddle.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted. Yeah.
So yeah, I pretty much summed it up. So it is quite cozy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, Guy pretty much summed it up really. So at the end of the day, it's just a description of what you're going to see coming towards you, and you can really choose whatever you want. It just as long as it makes sense to you. And I guess a lot of people would have played Colin McRae Rally and all of those games. I think Dirt's the latest and greatest at the moment. But, a lot of it has to do not so much with even sort of the corner severity, but, car positioning and whether you want to stay in or out or if it's rough. It's just really a description.
Yeah.
And I guess some of the I've got a bit of a story to highlight the importance of notes, I suppose. You could drive down any road without notes and, take it easy and you'd be fine. But it was about my second rally. This was in this Corolla, I had A92, and we did the Adelaide Hills Tarmac Rally in 2010. And I had no fear at all. Balls out, go for it. And we won the SARC section on the Saturday for our class. I think it was P2 back then. Thought I was a champion. It's all good, so let's go harder the next day, right? So we're out the back of Macclesfield, actually, and we're absolutely flying through this stage. And coming up, my co-driver then called a 8 right, and sort of, I don't really think it looks like an 8, but okay. So keep barreling into it. Yep. Should be right. So we come into it and definitely wasn't an 8. It was probably more like a 5 or a 6. And to give everyone a bit of an indication of the difference there, an 8's probably about 140 km an hour corner. A 5 or a 6 is about 80 to 90. So I tried. I really did.
I think you adjusted part of the scenery with that.
Yeah. The rear became a little bit loose. The car actually kind of pivoted on the road, almost went on 2 wheels and hit a tree with the back left quarter, and then spat us down the road the opposite way and rattled us a bit. And the back wheel was too bent to continue, unfortunately. But fortunately, I didn't bend the cage, and the rear hatch could still open. So
yeah, it's the inherent strength of the Corolla. Yeah.
Strong car. Michael can still remember the bog cake that I applied afterwards to
it wasn't so much the bog as well, but the hammer tone finished paint that they accidentally used.
I think it was without thinners, wasn't it?
It had crow's feet or something like that. But
beautiful.
This is when we were still really learning, so we'll cut us some slack.
Went the rest of the season anyway.
Because I guess that's the thing. And if we're talking of grassroots level, because I think, and obviously we had Damien Reed on recently, the other week, and we're talking about ways of getting involved. And I think a lot of people see, as you mentioned, sort of the Porsche Target Tasmania effort of turning up with a crew, and they see, I want to go do WRC, and, but really, you can rally at a grassroots level. But, as well as driving, everyone sort of thinks about the driving and the pace notes, but you're a mechanic, you're a panel beater, you're a spray painter, you're all of these other things if you're doing it on a budget. So how has that gone for the two of you? Have you had sort of crash courses in all of these other associated skills?
Yeah, it's been a lot of learning for me, I suppose. Yeah, definitely panel beating doesn't come naturally. I've had to do that a few times, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely. Like it's for me, it's helped me learn a lot mechanically, and helped in other parts of my life, but I suppose. But also, you sort of start. For me, I started out with when it was just sort of me and my dad, and sort of just grows from there, and you get a bit of a following around you. More mates who want to help out and things like that. Yeah, and so you get a bit of a team behind you, I suppose, to help you out when you're looking at doing ARC events, but when you're doing tiny state rallies or even carnicrosses and the like, you kind of can wing it yourself.
Kind of hope for the best. So I guess it's a good point. So if there was a time, I guess a few years ago, when the Australian Rally Championship had that Junior Rally Championship, which was a really great series, which kind of, I remember, got everyone revved up. There was a great prize pool attached to the end of it, and you guys both jumped into that, head first.
Yeah, it was.
Do you want to touch? Touch on that, and I guess your time at the the Institute of Sport.
Can we just check mic? Can we just do a quick mic check?
Yes, Luke's been a legend.
Am I good?
Your Luke is good. Buzz,
am I good? You can.
Yes,
you got me there.
GT,
yeah, we're good.
Happy days.
Hey!
All right, we're winning.
Luke is the brains and the true brains of this operation. So yeah, you've just seen him in action there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we're
a pro rally.
I've missed like everything now.
We've done pace notes
now.
Yeah.
We're
at the
pace notes.
We're at the Institute of Sport, and then we're going to go downhill from there. So.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'll get some more here then.
Yeah.
So in 2011, wasn't it?
Yes.
They announced the Australian Junior Rally Championship, and us being 20, 21, we were right there, and the prizes on offer were really good. There was free tires, which is a massive thing. But I think the first year it was a test in Mick Ryan's Mazda. Was that the first or the second year?
I think that was the second year.
Yeah.
Who's Mick Ryan?
Sorry, Mick Ryan's.
I don't know.
Yeah. So Mick Ryan.
I've got some pictures of me looking at Possum Born back in the day, young head with the camera out in the Kaipo trying to take some pictures, but I wasn't into it like you boys were.
Mick Ryan is the owner of Rally School.
Right.
So anyone would have seen it on Red Balloon. You can go and arrive and drive a Subaru or an Evo.
Yeah.
And they built.
Is that any good? Because you guys have.
Yeah, we both work there.
You both work there,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, highly recommend it.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, so he built a G2, so the two-wheel drive ARC outright winning Mazda 2 with a tricky motor and a sequential box and all the things that you'd see in a WR car, and that was a pretty tempting sort of thing.
This is around the time that the Australian Rally Championship went to two-wheel drive only. I think we started in 2012 to about 2015.
Which, from memory, I found pretty boring compared to like all-wheel drive cars and two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, two-wheel drive cars anyway. Yeah.
But getting back on track.
Yeah. But yeah, so we said we were going to do it. And it was sort of at that point, that's when we really became great mates, because the final was in Coffs Harbour. So we both qualified for the Junior Challenge.
I didn't qualify the first year. I was in my Evo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
Buzz qualified.
Yeah, I qualified.
I think you're. This is going back. This is why it's a bit foggy for us. I think you're a wild card. Even.
Yeah, I was a wild card. Yeah.
Hey.
And I got hit by a Falcon at that event too.
So
I think everyone's been hit by a Falcon in their life, hasn't it?
Yeah, well,
like the bird or a car?
No, a bright red EL Falcon XR6, dead set. Like just very quickly, we had a bad weekend and bent some suspension, so we were just continuing on day 2. And Stephen Turner is the guy's name from Tasmania, and the guy is a weapon steerer, and he was behind us, and we were on a really long, 15, 20 kilometer long stage, and he caught us, and I didn't know. And because it's dust and all of that, and it was like a 90-degree right hander, and he's just come big dive bomb down the inside, and I just turned in. I didn't know he was there, and he just pushed us out into the weeds, and off went this Falcon.
Pre-rally safe days, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No push to pass.
Notable to say that so this was the first World Rally Championship event at Coffs Harbour in 2011. So that was my first ARC event outside of South Australia, let alone World Championship.
Both of ours.
So it was huge, and I remember going around in the surface park looking at all the World Rally cars and Buzz beforehand. It was pretty cool. Michael has a pretty cool story of passing a certain Ford driver.
Oh yeah. So let's just say stage 1 because everyone likes canning this guy. Yeah. But Ken Block was on the side of the road, and I was in my Sprinter, and you mentioned previously it had a pretty hot motor in it with individual throttle bodies, so it sounded really good. Didn't go very fast, but sounded great. And so we were, flat out through the forest, and we come over this brow, and there's this WRC Focus on the side of the road, and Ken just loving it. And I got so distracted because I'm like, that's Ken Block, and he likes my car. It's just one of those things that'll never leave you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Awesome.
Cool event. And my Evo, I did finish, but many people called me Colin McRae after because it didn't have a straight corner on it.
So, you gonna go?
Yeah, no.
I was going to dig more into what actually happened at AIS and kind of who you saw there, because I remember I grew up playing basketball, and that was my big thing when I was a kid. And I remember very crazy athletic, not so talented people getting sent to AIS, and I just imagined it as this crazy dreamland where the elite end up. So I mean, how long were you there? What did you do? What did you see?
That's sort of a reasonable analogy of the place. It's pretty cool. I've never eaten so well in my life, and Michael will attest to that as well. Incredible, good food, but tasty.
So the way it happened,
So what happened?
The way it happened was, I guess we did the junior challenge the year before, and at that point, so CAMS, which is now Motorsport Australia, put a press release out saying that they wanted applications from all the up and coming motorsport competitors for each or a couple of different, I guess I don't know what you call it,
disciplines.
Yeah.
So
disciplines.
rally, I presume Formula 3 would have been in there.
Off-road racing, stuff like that. So Guy and I both applied. I don't think we told each other at that point either. we were trying to feed each other.
How many spots are there? I'm getting in.
Honestly, we were racing for sheep stations at that point. But
I think when I rang you up to tell you I'd got in, you were like, "Oh, didn't want to tell you," but in as well.
So there's Buzz and GT, both been accepted into this, this training program, and they send us tickets to fly to Canberra, and there's the accommodation. So it went for a week.
Yeah, all expenses paid.
Yeah, what we pay for racing licenses for the rest of our life, it won't cover that trip.
Yeah. How many other people were there? Were there many other?
A few, 15 around there.
Yeah.
People like Macaulay Jones, so Brad Jones, BJR, his son was there.
Right.
That
bloke.
That guy. Other dude.
There was some pretty...
Okay, a couple of out supercar drivers, current main game supercar drivers.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was a good crop of people.
Yeah.
And, so they had some pretty cool trainers there. Who was the bloke now in F1?
Yeah, so Michael Massey was the guy that organised it through CAMS, and he's now in an organisational team with Formula 1. Yeah. So I think he did something with supercars, and then they poached him in Melbourne, and he's just now doing the whole jet setting thing. Well, not at the moment, but
not at the moment.
He's living the good life.
Living the good life. Did like the application process? I don't know. Like, was that just like a written form, or did you have to prove past results, or did you have to do like a test drive or something, like a Motorcana somewhere for them to look at you? Or like, because I know from my experience with the AIS stuff, it was always very much like, you know, results driven, like
and that's
what you did and what you got.
It was. Because I think at that point we'd both won the South Australian two-wheel drive rally championship, and with the ARC being two-wheel drive, that was a big tick in the box.
Right.
We both proved that we had future aspirations. And for rallying, we were big thumbs up.
Yeah.
There's a couple other blokes that were there that are now fairly serious tarmac co-drivers and bits and pieces.
Yeah, cool. So what did you do for that week? So you got your tickets, you went there, you big shiny gates
really
at
well.
AS in Canberra.
GT, welcome to the Australian Institute of Sport.
We did a lot of running and a lot of push-ups.
I'm not good at running.
A lot of that stuff. And yeah, we were really hurting after a couple of days. We also did a fair bit of like a mental testing. This bloke came over from the US, Noel Blundell, and did a whole lot of psych tests and reaction tests and all sorts with us, which is really good. And
I just imagine like rooms of, you know, when you see those like those shonky F1 ads when you're watching the F1, there's Mark Webber sitting there going on like a light boxing.
That's
like,
exactly what it was like. Yeah.
Actually, on slight sidetrack, but I was just looking at this earlier. Anyone listening live, jump onto Daniel Ricciardo's Instagram stories, and there's a reaction test they're doing just in a park at the moment when he's trainer, and they've got the two of them, and it's sort of like telling them it's like toes, knees, elbows, toes, knees, and then there's a ball, and when they say ball, they've got to like grab it, and just the other guy just gets so confused and just doesn't quite know where to put his hands, and Ricardo's like boom straight onto the ball. Like it's that stuff is pretty cool. So
what's a big part of motorsport, I guess, is that reaction time, especially in rally, like in gravel rally where you've got changing road conditions and you've got trees coming at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
You rarely see the same corner twice.
Yeah.
Well, these days you kind of do with the repeat of stages, but anyway.
So I said rarely.
Rarely, it's 5 times rally.
Yeah.
No, you go.
No, you go.
Yeah. No, I was just going to ask a quick question. You know, we're talking about co-drivers and rally still, and Motorsport UK in the UK, they've just said their sort of get back to motorsport plan is that they're banning co-drivers in rally cars for the foreseeable future. So they'll be able to get back to events, but no two people in cars, which is just going to completely shake up that whole thing for the foreseeable future. So yeah, just an interesting development.
About that. Are you allowed a passenger? Are 2 people allowed in a car normally over there at the moment?
No. Oh, like in general, yes. Well, it's probably a bit of a grey area. It's the whole country. The whole country is a massive grey area at the moment.
With rallying, you're only 2 people, like, and you're not swapping between cars. You know, it's 2 people for 3-4 days, whatever it is. I really don't see.
I read that. I think they sort of said if you happen to live in the same house as your co-driver, then according to the government regulations, you probably could. But I think Motorsport UK have accepted the fact that most drivers and co-drivers probably aren't going to live together. So they've just said no co-drivers, which means no special stage rallies. It means sort of, auto tests and that type of thing for the foreseeable future. So
auto tests and hill climbs.
Yeah, basically it's all on hold. So anyway, sorry to interrupt the IAS. I just thought it was an interesting little juncture.
Yeah, very much so. So week got there doing reaction tests, doing psychology tests.
So,
like what was going through your head during that period? Like, did you know that going in that was going to happen, or was that like a kind of surprise? This is what you're doing.
They gave us a rough idea, but how intense it was, I didn't think we were ready for.
No, to give you an idea of the physical side of it, it's going to get a bit in depth here, but
that's all right.
Personal is the word. But I remember like walking downstairs after about 4 days, and the old glute just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
It was we were pushed that hard, and I'm sure we've never been pushed that hard in the rest of our lives, really. So we probably should have, I guess, kept the fitness up, but we lapsed on that a little bit. But what I was saying with the mental testing is that I know both of us have really taken a lot from that and still use a couple of the techniques in our motorsport till today, really. A lot of the calming or working up techniques and relaxing and recovery and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, interesting. So how's that fed into you, like your modern? I mean, obviously, Buzz, you've won Adelaide Rally twice, and one of my points I'd like to ask you about is to sort of run through your process of how you did that, because I know that a lot of people certainly, there's different approaches to motorsport, and there's certainly a turn up and chuck your helmet on and sort of have some fun approach, and then there's a very scientific approach, which I know you took for those events. So did that kind of feed into that a lot, or?
Yeah. So something that we really learned I guess they taught us at the AIS, is that the scientific approach to motor racing really has a home. It is really as much science as it is a hobby now.
Or a feeling, or feeling the car. I think it was. I was watching some Sky F1 interviews that they're doing during the lockdown, and there was Martin Brundle talking about it's not so much the feel anymore of the F1 drivers. It's very much about the data and what they're doing with it and how they're using it, and the scientific side of motor racing than the glorious, I got in a car, it felt right, felt good, I kicked butt that day.
It's just the prior preparation saying.
What is it?
My favorite.
What is it?
So prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. that was 2016 for us. Our budget didn't allow for a big show, so we had to work on all the 1%ers, and again, that was the AIS. They were teaching us it's all about the 1%ers. It's to find every 10th where you can.
And that's free, I suppose. And talking about pace notes,
free.
They're free as well. You can put as much effort into it as you want. So that's obviously what Michael did in those couple of years.
Yeah, fantastic. And then really it's just a matter, but turning up and executing the plan as you've sort of envisioned it and planned it. And if all goes to plan, it just sort of comes off as you expected it to, I guess. So obviously it doesn't work for
Just a side note on that AIS too. So it was 2012 when we went.
Back to us.
More beer required. More beer required.
When we were there, so it was 2012. So London Olympic Games.
Yes.
So there's Buzz and GT, AIS, and some of the trainers have taken us into the Olympic boxing rings. And seriously.
To have a spa?
No, I definitely didn't want to do that. But there we are, all sitting watching the Australian Olympic boxing team beat the hell out of each other.
Did they train to Eye the Tiger?
On repeat.
It's on repeat.
Yeah.
Actually, if anyone does know Tristan Cafford, he did. Not Tristan Cafford, Tristan Kent. He did say he'd have a go.
He actually, credit to him, and he'd probably go all right in the ring too. He would. And then the other one, which at the time both being single was really good, the Australian gymnastics team. They were even better.
We even at the lunch hall we saw one of them sneak a bit of chocolate.
Yeah. Ooh. So a really cool fact from that is we laugh, right? But in all seriousness, hang on. In all seriousness,
that'd be worth money at the AIS if you got some chocolate like that. I imagine that'd be worth something.
So,
sorry.
When she snuck that bit of chocolate, we were all like, "What the hell? That's really weird." I mean, look at me. But, so they have their body, their fat percentage taken 3 times a day, and they'd be able to tell that they ate that bit of chocolate.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the level that they're at, and that's where we rolled up and just not way out of our depth, but we just realized how much there was to training and preparing, and it shows in our later results that we really took something from that and rolled with it, and it's paid off.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually an interesting thing. I was talking to a guy by the name of Oscar Redfern at a on the side of the road at Adelaide Rally while we were, or Classic Adelaide, doing some photos, and I was chatting away with him. Turns out he did the GT Academy, won.
Gran Turismo.
Right. Won the GT Academy, did that whole event. And he said one of the big things that was his slight bit of letdown was his fitness in it, like being able to sustain the fitness that was required of those top level GT drivers. And it was just like crazy hearing that story. It'd be cool to get him on to speak about that process too. But like similar experience of like that whole psychological and physical side of motor racing that I guess a lot of grassroots people don't see.
Yeah. And I guess it comes down to like everything in motor racing. It comes down to money, really. But I mean, you know, a lot of these people that are trying, like yourselves, are trying to sort of make it in the game. They're trying to be a driver, and they're trying to be an engineer as well, and a mechanic and a race engineer, and they're trying to build the car and maintain the car. We're really in an ideal world. You need to just focus on yourself, and between events, you need to be working on that fitness and getting yourself and preparing. So all you need to do is turn up and jump in the car and go. Obviously, it's a matter of for us all finding the level at which you can kind of sustain that and have a job to pay for it all and all, you know, this. But yeah, it is tough if you're out competing against a lot of people who maybe do have the privilege of being able to do that, and you're trying to kind of do everything yourself as well. So yeah, it's just but hey, fascinating to hear about it, definitely.
Yeah, so, thanks, Cams.
Australia.
You can't get in trouble. They're gonna report the video to YouTube and get taken down. Improper use of trademark name.
So what's the situation with rally in Australia at the moment? Is it going back to normal, or is it still in the wings?
Like right now, as we speak.
Well, rally in SA.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no plans for the South Australian Rally Championship currently. They're meant to be releasing something reasonably soon. I think the Adelaide Hills Rally, the round of the Australian Rally Championship for South Australia, is going ahead in October, and the ARC is planning currently on a 4-round series starting in September, but might be cut to 3. And yeah, it's a bit, you know, they'll see what happens, I guess, at the moment with all that. It's a bit hard to, like, I've always wanted to do, I guess, a full ARC program. And, you know, this year kind of represents the best opportunity to do that, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's cheating a little bit, I suppose. But, you know, is it really the same worth, I suppose, as, you know, as a normal championship? I don't know. What do you do?
Yeah.
But...
Well, I mean, it's certainly going to be popular with everyone being locked down so much. I imagine any type of event that's going to be on is going to be hugely popular with the public if it's safe for people to go out and do it. I mean, I know that we were talking about, Andrew, what we're going to do if you can't make it back to do photos for Adelaide Rally. And
The thing is at the moment from here, like we're all up in the air about everything really, and you know, I'm quite relaxed about it because, you know, there's literally nothing we can do about the situation. I feel like, you know, if you've stuffed something up or there's something you could have done differently, then yeah. But at the moment, it's like, who knows? You know, at this stage of, you know, I'm coming back for Adelaide Rally to do the photos, but you know, who knows what the travel situation is going to be in a couple of months' time, and it's all just holding stations, and really, and you know, 2-3 weeks beforehand, we're probably not really going to know. So it's just you know, bide our time, and I think everyone's in the same boat. I think you guys in Australia are very lucky that Australia being, you know, just geographically a very isolated country, you can run your own championships within Australia and keep it relatively secure and locked down, and also the big distances between the cities. You know, you've got your population centres of Sydney, Melbourne. So, you know,
we don't want them over here right now.
No, but that's the thing. It's like if it's not going so well over there, like you can still go rallying in Adelaide and it's quite good. But in Europe, where everything's so interconnected, and you know, between London and Birmingham is basically suburbia really, and there's no way you can really block it off from Europe, from the rest of the UK. It just, there's no option but to really not do it. You just couldn't do it if you think about it. But I think Australia's in a very good position for that. So
yeah, we are. We're pretty good down here. We're doing good. I guess I guess talking about the AAS and the preparation stuff can lead. I don't know what you want to talk about first. We've got two kind of segues. I guess one is the Buzz Classic Adelaide Rally stuff, and then I guess GT, the whole UK experience too. I don't know, which way do you want to go first?
I think GT. Let's hear about the UK, because you've really come the closest to anyone I know of you know, cracking the cherry really. So.
Cracking the cherry.
Make it up on the go. You get tough cherries over here.
Yeah.
Where they're like almonds, or no, what are they like? Yeah, almonds, or
I have no idea.
Walnuts. You got walnut cherries over there.
Where do we start? I suppose. It was pretty.
How did it come about? So So
That's-
nobody
yes.
like for people who don't know
Yeah,
about the UK
yeah.
thing, what happened? How did you find out
Yeah.
about it? How did
So-
you get there? Because it was a pretty epic story to like pack up little old Adelaide and get over the UK and try and do some motorsport. So yeah, go through that.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess starting a little bit further back in 2015, me and Stephen Fisher won the South Australian Rally Championship in an Evo 5. Had a great year, and kind of wanted to keep the ball rolling, I suppose. And I was just on Facebook one day and saw this Vauxhall Rally, drive a scholarship or chance to, have a test in a rally car and maybe be a part of a team. I think Luke's trying to find.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing up some pictures. Sorry.
So what the heck? I applied. So actually, you probably don't want to watch it. I actually sent a video in.
Oh, we want to watch it.
We want to watch that video.
I don't know how well it streams, but
yeah.
I
Post
think
it to the.
it's a bit glitchy, but
Yeah.
where can we find that video? It's more the
It's on my
important thing.
YouTube channel.
Oi.
Oh, excellent.
Search Guy Tyler on YouTube.
Something like
Guy
that.
Tyler Rally.
Yeah. I guess I wanted to, set myself apart and kind of. I think it worked really. Like they contacted me. They really liked what I put together, and at the very least, they offered me an opportunity to come over and test their Vauxhall Atom R2 car. So for that year, the British Rally Championship, still to this day, uses an R2 specification of car, which is a 1600cc front-wheel drive. They've got sequential boxes, and there's a number of manufacturers that produce these cars. And the Atom was actually probably the best at that time, for sure, in that class. So me and my wife Evangeline went over to the UK in
You didn't just go though, like
no. So we
you make that sound very easy. Like, we just
no
got up and went to the UK, but it was more than that because it was.
Well, so we went over in January and had this test. I remember Aaron Windus from Victoria actually he was selected as well to come to this test, and we picked him up at a train station, I think, because he was too young to hire a car. He actually ended up with one of the drives. No worries. So we went and did this test. It was the first time I'd ever driven a left-hand drive car, let alone a sequential box or such a serious, I guess, race car. It was really purpose-built. Compared to the, I suppose, more production Evos and other things I've driven back home. So it was a great experience. I think I drove the car right. The team boss is happy with my driving, and it was just a great experience, I suppose. We had an interview as well where I said, I can definitely bring the money needed.
How much money was that?
Probably about half the budget, but yeah. There's nothing wrong with fibbing a little bit there. You never know what could happen in a month.
Goes out and buys all the lotto tickets.
Unfortunately, we didn't get selected to drive one of the 3 Vauxhall Atoms that year. They probably saw through my lies there. But they were a normal, race team as well. And since that we got along, we had a good relationship there. They were able to find me a Ford Fiesta R2, which was is the same category of car, just a few years older, a little less developed, but a whole lot cheaper to hire and run for the British Junior Rally Championship. I think there was about 7 rounds of the championship. We could only afford to do 5, but only 5 rounds counted that year. So we were like, oh, maybe.
So what did you have to do to get into the drive? Like pedal back like half step. So because I remember there was a lot of selling and you had to sell. You had to sell your championship winning car. SARC championship winning car, really, wasn't it? You had to sell the Evo.
That's right. I got fairly lucky. Everything went out the door pretty quickly. I managed to sell my Mitsubishi Evo 5. The bloke in Canberra who still owns it. Sold my road car, my Hilux. I got a loan for about 20 grand or so. And, Steve, my co-driver, also lent a lot of money. So we were both putting a lot into it to kind of live the dream, I suppose, and try and, see if anything would come from it.
Just on that, just to touch back to the AIS too, is something that they did teach us is getting people to believe in what you can do.
Yeah.
And Guy was really good in that situation where he got a lot of people to believe, not that he's not, but
not capable.
You've
Not
got
that he's not capable.
Rally
but...
people around you. That's the only way to get forwards in this sport. And he did that really well and got that support, and off he went.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So sell his stuff, go over the UK.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got to mention my wife, Evangeline, in all this, because I really wouldn't have been able to move overseas, like leave everything behind without her support. And she'd done a lot of overseas trips in the past. And, I grew up on a dairy farm and hardly been out of the state before I, started rallying, I suppose. I guess to this day, rallying is my holidays. So, yeah.
I think it is for a lot of us. We take holidays and go rallying.
She was a great help in getting us over there. And, when we left, we didn't have jobs. We didn't even have somewhere to live. So we kind of went on a whim and sort of hoped for the best. There was sort of a promise to work with the team that I was racing for, and that actually did end up happening. And there's a few things that happened in the team that year. A few people left, so we were kind of half the team in the end, I suppose. And I ended up, working on some of the Vauxhall Adams that they ran, and they ended up winning the British Junior Rally Championship with an Irish bloke.
There wasn't any wheels falling off those cars. Someone had to bring it up.
That's the second half of the podcast. What was the team, Guy? Which team was it?
So it was Major Motorsports. So look, small shed just outside of Bicester. I know that you attend Bicester a lot for a little heritage thing that they got going there.
Yeah.
For everyone back home, I suppose that's about 2 hours northwest of London.
Yeah. So, I guess it's right in the center of what they call Motorsport Valley, and really all a lot of the European motorsport is all based in this very geographically narrow area where I think there's 18 of 21 Formula One teams are there. As I said, there's a huge classic car industry. The rally is there. I mean, the beer I'm drinking is actually, funny you say this. This is Wrigley Monkey beer brewed at Bicester Heritage, brewed in Bicester. But you go to events at their brewery and there's engineers from Formula One teams sitting there having a beer, and you're like, oh yeah, he's the aerodynamicist from Force India, and you're like, okay, cool. It's just this whole community of it's the place to be for that. So so how did it go? You event one, turn up.
Yeah,
never driven.
So that was in deep dark Wales. The first stages were, even before we started the stages on Recce, we had a pretty clapped out old Volvo wagon, and we hadn't fitted any rally tires to it. She'll be right, mate. We'll get through. It actually started snowing during Recce, so it was a bit of a challenge in itself, and to get through Recce. And I don't actually think we finished all the stages because we got stuck a few times.
Actually, I got some photos I'll throw up of the good old Any Given Reason blog doing it again.
Yeah.
So is that the Volvo
That's
wagon?
The one. We named it
Sven.
Yeah. We had later on in the year we had a few oil pressure issues with it, towing the rally car. We managed to get us everywhere though. It didn't let us down. So that picture there, if you can still see it there. So that, if anyone knows, that's Sweet Lamb. It's a very, very famous rallying area. That the WRC goes to every year in Rally GB. And there's they go through this bowl pretty much where my car's parked there.
You can drive it on dirt rallying. It's that famous.
And crash it too.
Yeah.
So we did a bit of a test there before the rally actually. Forgot about that. So that was pretty cool in itself, I suppose. To be there in a rally car. Yeah,
I love this one up on the screen. It's just a screenshot of Chris Harris, who's obviously Top Gear now, but wasn't back then. And picture of a snowy road, and he's participating in this same event, and he's the caption is quite glad I'm in an X-Drive BMW, and you guys are in a Volvo on summer tires.
He was driving a 86 for the event actually.
Good
Oh,
choice.
cool.
Not sure how we went,
Yeah.
and I'll keep this photo forever. So that's Steve and myself in the
Where are you?
middle left,
I can't
bit
see.
further across.
That one?
There you
Down.
go.
So to what championship?
Damn.
That one.
There
Oh,
you go.
hang on.
There you go.
Yeah,
We can.
entrance photos.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You got
Oh, no.
you got
I
current
tried to
Toyota
zoom in.
driver Elfin Evans in the front row.
Hang on, just so that we can circle it.
There you go.
We need like a
Two
drawing
battlers.
thing.
Elfin's the DMAC bloke on the right.
Mm.
You
There you
guys,
go.
yeah.
Hmm.
Real battlers. I think the only guys without a matching uniform there.
Yeah.
Maybe these guys over here too.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking at the camera. What's he doing?
Well, neither is Chris Harris. Look,
Where's Chris Harris?
there
Has
you
he
go.
got
Up
hair in
one.
this picture? Is that
Oh,
how
wow.
it is?
Yeah, there.
Look, he's got hair and everything. Wow, this must be old.
I mean, it's safe to say the British Rally Championship's never been as good since. It peaks then. Well, I mean, further to that, so this is 2016, and in 2014 on the Jim Clark Rally, there was a crash, fatal crash. I think some spectators or something got killed. Don't quote me on it. But basically, yeah, the motorsport governing body in the UK said, "Well, we gotta calm down here," and basically canned the British Rally Championship for a whole year in 2015.
Wow, so this is getting back into it type of thing, and
so that's why there was a fair bit of support for it, I suppose, in 2016. And I think at this first round, there was about 16 junior crews starting. So I guess coming from Australia, where we did the Australian Junior Challenge, and I raced a Renault Clio, and Buzz raced a RX-7, and there was a big mix of cars, and you sort of couldn't
And
you weren't really never level pegging us.
No, and it was that's probably the other thing we should have touched on too. A healthy age gap in Australia. The junior challenge went to 28. And considering we're not much older than that now, like where we were at 20 and where we are now, we would have wiped the floor with our 20-year-old selves. Yeah.
At the time. So to be competing against like 15 other crews in the same class of car around the same age was pretty epic.
It's a real deal. That's the
and I suppose I forgot to mention, so the actual prize for winning the British Junior Rally Championship that year was, I think, half a World Rally Championship, Junior World Rally Championship campaign, which is huge. So as I said, I think 5 rounds of the British Rally Championship counted towards the Junior Championship. So we were doing the 5 rounds, and so that just put us in with a little bit of hope that we might progress further. But yeah, you got to hang on to something, right?
we'll get to that one. I haven't put that up yet.
I did mention that there was a bit of snow around.
How many times have you driven on snow before that?
Never seen it. Never seen snow in my life.
You've never seen snow before?
No.
Wow.
That was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Hardcore.
What's this stuff
Yeah.
like? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun in the Volvo, I can tell you that. So look, the rally started on the Saturday night with 2 night stages, and man, that was daunting. Like first rally overseas, you go on 30 Ks into deep dark Wales and you can't see a lot. We bent a control arm in the first stage, and that set us back a bit. And we even had troubles replacing that at the night service. And we went over a little bit, and we still had to use the morning service to get it back in. And so we weren't really in the running, I suppose, for the second and main day on the Sunday. But we still wanted to get the experience, obviously, and have a go. I think this was the first stage in the morning. And we came down, and we were about halfway through the stage, coming downhill into a left-hander. And right at the last second, this guy popped up from behind a tree as I was approaching this left with an OK board. And I was like, what's that? And I asked Steve, what's he doing? And we're like, I don't know. But I was carrying too much speed into this left-hander, and I took my eyes off the ball, off the road, because this bloke was waving around this board. And unfortunately ended up understeering off the corner into a stump and riding off the front of the car. So that was very disappointing. for the guy that was waving the board was in that blue car there. We actually ended up pushing him out, and he ended up going. So that was a bit of a sour note for us.
Yeah.
And
Is that a third car that I see? Off
yes, there's a car.
That's an upside down
Farwell
guy.
That
Finesse,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one that's upside down?
Yeah, he's on a couple of logs.
He's on a couple.
Yeah.
What? How are you feeling up to that point? Like on the stage and in the car and.
I guess
kicking
it was
along all right?
starting to gel. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it was the first stage of the morning, and we'd had a bad night before that, so it wasn't much of a warm up, I suppose. But it was starting to happen. I thought I was driving within myself, and I think we would have been fine if I didn't take my eyes off the road.
So what's the deal if you've rented a rally car and you bend it? What's the deal there?
So basically, So
it's not like you pay for extra insurance like a normal rental car.
No, so they do actually have race car insurance over there that the teams take out. So basically, we pay for the rent of the car and the service crew and all those bits and pieces. But you basically give the team a £5,000 bond before any event that you're doing a rally with the car in, and pretty much any damage that you do to the car comes off of that.
Yeah.
So if you break a mirror, that's $200 that comes out of that. If you do what we just did there, it's all gone and you have to replace it. So needless to say, it was a bit tough. Having that out of our budget so early in the year, and fortunately, and with a lot of help from home, we had a lot of support. We ran a crowdfunding campaign before we went even, so we had a bit in the kitty to replace that. And I've still got to be very thankful for everyone who got us there and enabled us to live the dream, I suppose. But yeah, still not nice.
So what was next after? So obviously that one, first rally didn't quite go to plan. What was next?
So that was the Pirelli rally up in Carlisle, so North England, near the border of Scotland. And we actually started at the Pirelli factory, so that was an experience in itself. We got through the first loop stage of this time, and I think, like I said, so I was driving a Ford Fiesta 1600 R2, one of the older cars, and we were kind of the quickest in one of those specification of cars, which is pretty cool against a bunch of other guys. But yeah, about halfway through the day, the gearbox went, unfortunately. So that was no good. That was rally over. Again, that was the first day in a 2-day rally, so we rode off the whole weekend, unfortunately. But still good experience, and we actually started to show some of our speed there, which is really cool. Then we moved on to the Scottish rally, which was just over the border, I think. After another couple of months, I think between then, me and my wife Evangeline met Buzz and his wife Ashley over in Paris. So we had a bit of a summer holiday.
Buzz put everyone to bed, I think, by proposing to his now wife Ash in Paris, which is what most girls dream of.
Yeah.
But
Palace of Versailles.
Palace of Versailles.
Yeah.
Well, I did convince her to sleep in a tent at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Wow.
So I had to make up for it.
And that was the prerequisite, the final test. You're like,
Yeah,
if I do
yes,
this,
exactly.
then tick, box, tick.
Yeah.
Yep, let's push ahead with phase 2,
Yeah, that was catching up with them in Paris was fun.
Yeah, so you went and did that in between.
Yeah, then we headed to the Scottish rally, which is the best rally of the championship we had that year. We drove really well. It was a 1-day rally that year. About midway through the one of the stages, about stage 4 or 5, in the middle of the rally, the gear shifter came unattached from the gearbox, basically, stuck in third gear. And unfortunately, for anyone who knows, I'm pretty experienced at driving just the one gear. From my time in a Renault Clio doing the Australian Rally Championship. So I think I said it to Steve at the time. Yeah, we got this, mate. I can bring it home.
I'm uniquely qualified.
Look, third gear is probably the best gear that you can have, I suppose. You can just take off and sort of get up to about 100 k's an hour. So it wasn't awful, and we sort of managed to keep the speed up a little bit and make it to the next service where we were able to reattach the gear lever. And brought it home the first Fiesta again, and it was a really highlight of our season, and we won the Spirit of the Rally, which is a bit of an oil prize back then. Never spent, but we never got a trophy from overseas, but that was good enough.
Yeah, I think it's just a really inspirational story, because I think every kid or not kid, young kid at heart that's ever had a tear around sort of Walkie Park or Lanark Park or any of these really beginner sort of places always have dreams of going up onto a world stage and doing that. And I think you've come closest to that than pretty much just about anyone. So I think that's very cool. So
thanks, mate.
Yeah,
definitely coming from Australia, I don't think there's probably only a handful of Australians that have rallied overseas, so that felt pretty special by itself. To wrap up our rallying for that year, we then went to the Nicky Grist stages. He's been in the media a bit lately with all his tales. The podcast with Chris Harris.
Yeah,
pretty cool bloke.
Yeah.
So that was actually like Rally Spain in the World Rally Championship. It was dirt one day and then tarmac the next. So we had a bit of a job to do at the service park, and I think I ended up doing a lot of the swap over work that night because our service crew was getting a bit thin on the ground with the Vauxhalls at that time, and I prepared my car in the workshop myself, so I knew most about it. And again, we were the quickest Fiesta 1600 on the gravel on the first day. Had a brilliant day's rallying. Didn't put a scratch on it. Unfortunately, on the second day we went onto the tarmac, and if that was on the Epent Ranges, so it's an old military range in Wales, used back in the day. So really, really tight, narrow roads. It has been used on the World Rally Championship in the past. Really tricky. So if you go off, there's just a kilometre of grass basically, or rocks in the grass, or you name it.
Right.
So we were coming down in the first stage. We were about 5 k's in, and entered a left-hander a little bit too quick. Again, like the Corolla, lost the rear end in 5th gear. I don't know what speed. Narrowly missed a tree. Fortunately, it was the only tree within kilometres. It's pretty a barren landscape, I suppose. But unfortunately, there was a few bumps in the grass where we went off, and it sort of left the ground and dug in and went over it a few times. And people since have said, was that? Sorry.
I was just going to say that it was a pretty violent crash. Wasn't?
Yeah,
it's not any it's not just any old crash. So, it was a fair old hit.
Yeah. It was good fun actually.
The crash or the event?
Both. But I guess to touch on in a rally car, we've got a wing seat that wraps you all around, a 6-point harness, a massive roll cage, harness device which connects your body to your head, so your neck doesn't stretch too far. So you're actually pretty wrapped up in there, and you feel pretty safe. And at that point, I thought I was. So for a couple of seconds there, it was a pretty cool ride. And when we landed, it was pretty bad. We tried to jack up the car and make something of the mess. We hadn't lost a wheel, I suppose, but they were all at funny angles. There was no glass left in the car. So it was pretty disappointing, and didn't really know what to think of it, because we were meant to do the Isle of Man, which was the last round of the British Rally Championship that year. But like I touched on with the deposit that we had to pay, we couldn't front another one up. I guess another sub story there. I was actually the team were going to sell this Fiesta to some other guys after that rally, and I was going to have a go in one of the more powerful Vauxhall Adams on the Isle of Man, and it's more purpose-built tarmac rally car. So that was a bit disappointing, but didn't let it get to me too much. Throughout the rest of the year, we managed to, me and Evangeline managed to go to Finland and spectate there. It was an unforgettable experience, and still went to all the other British Rally Championship rounds and helped work on the cars with the team. So just awesome experience, and I've still got friends that I'll have for life. Because a lot of guys from Scandinavia and Ireland and everyone came to do the British Rally Championship at that time. So it was a pretty diverse bunch of guys, and still talk to them till today. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
And how were they? Were they in a pretty similar boat to you as well? Just sort of there by the sort of skin of their teeth, or was some of them had it a little bit easier, you'd say?
They had a little bit easier. Not to say they didn't work hard for it, for sure. But a lot of the guys, had similar cars back home or were testing in between, doing a lot more rallying and had a lot more seat time than myself.
Probably driven on snow before.
Yeah,
probably seen snow before.
Yeah, so we were up against it, but we had a crack, and I can never regret that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool story.
Yeah.
Very cool story.
There'd be a lot more stories there. Just it has to come back to me.
Or time permitting, it can't be a 6-hour podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I can't imagine like doing that, like just packing up and going and having a crack. I don't know. There's too much in me to just go and do that. But it's got to be pretty resilient to go and have a crack like that. It's pretty cool.
And I just love the fact that, you hear the stories of back in the 60s and 70s of, guys that would come over, to sort of, some made, but the majority don't. And live in a caravan and sort of, eat noodles and baked beans for a very long English winter to get themselves on the grid. And it's
ham sandwiches, mate.
Yeah.
That was literally
Very
all
cool.
you ate for weeks, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Still doing it?
Yeah.
It stayed on.
Yeah, we all are. Don't worry.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Cheese and ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, awkward pause. Adelaide Rally. Why don't we?
I'm waiting for
Oh,
you,
well.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Are you the host?
No. Yeah, no, it's just a free for all, I think. So, yeah, Buzz. So, yeah, why don't you tell us a bit about Adelaide Rally, backing it up twice, and I know we've mentioned it a few times, on various podcasts talking about your efforts, but particular challenge for you, and it's good to see you with just as much sort of dedication to doing it. It's awesome. So, why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so, Classic Adelaide. So 2016, we won it when it was known as Classic Adelaide. And then last year, we won it as
Step
Adelaide
back,
Rally.
because you had done tarmac
No.
before. So,
No.
So Buzz
we can-
doing gravel growing up, doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What motivated you to go to tarmac?
So we can step right back here. So I grew up
Bring it back.
between, I grew up between two really famous tarmac stages, Gorge Road and Monacute Road. So as a kid, I remember riding my push bike up to the start line of Monacute, the Monacute
What
stage.
bike did you have?
Malvern Star.
Yeah.
But and watching the start line of Classic Adelaide and Gooja Street Party as a kid and those sorts of memories, and always said, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do that one day. And eventually, got old and did it.
I said the same thing. I said, I'm going to do it in my Feet 124, which is sitting right behind
there.
me as a
Yeah,
shell.
that's right.
Rusted out.
Well, the event's still running.
Yeah,
so.
it is. One day.
But yeah, so got into gravel rallying, did a lot of that, and built my Mazda originally for the Junior Challenge and kept developing the car. And then I guess Classic Adelaide dissolved sort of mid-2000s through lots of different things, but it came back, and the year it came back, I was fully set to do it. I'm doing this now. I've got the car for it.
Because that was 20. Andrew, we did the first photos for that event. That was
2015, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or 14.
15.
Yeah.
I reckon 15. Yeah.
So
That was the night we spent the whole night editing photos, like 48 hours away.
Yeah, that's a podcast in itself.
That was a whole experience.
How not to do event photography, but anyway,
Yeah.
we can go into that.
Maybe, you know those like 5-minute crafts things? Maybe we could do like a 5-minute how not to do event photography.
How not to do event photography.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
came back.
it had every intention of doing it in 2015, and unfortunately, my mum got cancer at that point, so it just got way too much. So we scrapped that and we said, well, we'll do it next year. So 2016. So I pretty much had a year to get ready for it, and that involved converting a gravel car, a heavy gravel car, into a reasonably good tarmac car. And yeah, just got organized, really. Did some gravel rallying and some bits and pieces here and there and some testing and got it sorted. And like, it's all the 1%ers, really. And yeah, just went into the event as organized as we could be. And yeah, did what we needed to do. Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, I mean, like coming into not doing a tarmac event before, like, you know, what did you have to do to the car? Like,
so
what change? You
really,
said you had, you know, because gravel cars need to be strong, they need to be tough. Tarmac cars are a bit gentler,
exactly,
a bit
lighter.
more fragile, a bit lighter. So
really, in essence,
without going into like
the nitty
gritty, but
so really, we did a front brake upgrade and a reasonable set of pads in the rear. We changed the spring rate and just adjusted the shocks to suit.
So you didn't need to change the shocks or anything like
No.
that. They stayed. They were gravel shocks.
No,
They're Murrays.
yeah, like literally gravel shocks.
Yeah.
And then just took mud flaps off it. Really.
Yeah.
Like, there was lots of little things, lots of development stuff, but that was going to happen to the car regardless of if it was tarmac or gravel. So yeah, and then with that too, so there's two people in a rally car, so a co-driver, and I managed to source.
Recruit.
So let's go with Source. I'm
Found
happy
him
with
on
Source.
eBay.
Yeah, so
Had a Gumtree ad up.
a friend who, okay, we can wind this back really far. So I grew up around motor racing. My dad did a lot of circuit racing, and a gentleman that he raced against, John Caldecott, is also involved in rallying, and he's actually quite an experienced and good navigator, having done Classic Adelaide in what it originally was, which was quite a long marathon event of 5-6 days.
It's huge.
And doing quite well at it. Managed to come up with a deal with him to jump in the car, and his wealth of experience and knowledge, and just it's all those 1%ers that he has and knew, and just help bring that team together to get the job done.
Fantastic. And yeah, and it really was just eye on the prize. I just remember during that event you had this sort of innate belief that you could do it, and you had what it took, and you just needed to sort of turn up. And
I'll never ever forget. I remember that. So the prologue. So where I think it's seating or something like that. But the prologue up to that event. So I think it was Friday or Thursday night. One or the other. Doesn't matter.
It was like a late Thursday afternoon or something.
Yeah. It was a lap around Victoria Park, and I went, and I was so nervous, like sitting in the driver's seat, the driver's seat shaking, right? And because we worked so hard to get there, and the entry fee is quite substantial, and you know, and went out there, did our lap, came back in, felt like it was 10 seconds, and our seating was sort of where we were put originally, and I thought, man, we must have been so off the pace. And like, I spent all night like beating myself up, going, oh, this is like going to be horrible. I've told everyone I'm here to win. Like, what am I doing? And yeah, and went out Saturday with, I guess, had John calm me down. And again, it's, co-driver's job is as much as secretary as it is reading the pace notes. And yeah.
Voice of reason.
Yeah, and the rally went pretty good for us.
You won.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, like we had,
like an understatement.
We had a few mechanical gremlins. Like we had a power steering line burst. So we had to do, I think it was chain of ponds and corkscrew with no power steering, which for anyone who doesn't know corkscrew, it's got a series of 180-degree hairpins
The heaps is in the name.
Series is like
like
10 or heaps.
Yeah.
The top of the corkscrew is just corner. And so doing that with no power steering, and you rewatch the footage and you can see the steering wheel flexing as you're steering into these corners. But so fixed that and powered on, and just.
I'll go back a little bit, I suppose, because you were saying, I guess he had that Mickey Mouse stage at the start, that around Victoria Park. And that's what happens with a lot of rallies. And I've never really been a fan of the warm-up stage and that sort of thing. But I guess, it doesn't take as much bravery to go around Victoria Park as it does to go flat out through the hills.
100%.
So I guess that was the time difference for you at the start.
So prologues are no fun from a driver's perspective?
Prologues are there because they need to be, I guess. So
and super special stages, everything's to lose and not much to gain.
And I'll never forget too. So the Guja Street party that night, we rolled in leading the rally. I can't remember how much, but it was like 10 seconds maybe. And I actually rang Guy when he was in England, because at that point we were pretty good mates, and rang Guy and he said, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm bleeding." And he's like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah. Oh, keep it up." And it was just really good to have that reassuring sort of backing, even though he's on the other side of the world, to continue on. And we went out Saturday and just continued hammering on, and the rest is history, really.
Because I still remember that Guja Street. That we've got that photo that I think Mark Williams took for us, and it was a cool photo. But of the TV camera in your face and the interviewers and people trying to just hound you for updates, and there's poor Buzz kind of just like, I just want to go home and not talk to anyone.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah,
because you were dealing with those gremlins in the car. You were exhausted, I can imagine, because it's a pretty big prep and build up to the event.
In all honesty, 2016 Gremlins were nothing compared to last year. But
we're not professionals. Like, we go fix the car afterwards.
And I think that's the big thing is where you watch WRC drivers and they pull into the service park and just get out and have a coffee and some fruit, whereas I'm stripping the driving suit off and getting in there with the boys,
getting with the boys, telling them how to fix it.
To be honest, I'm just really yelling at them, going, "Well, hurry up! We're going to be late."
Actually, I think one of the scariest things I've ever seen is like Buzz mid rally, where he's like game face on and something's happening, and it's like, "Get this done!" And it's like, "Whoa, okay."
It's focus. It is a team sport, so
you're the Michael Jordan, basically. Like, if anyone's been watching that at the moment, you're the guy pulling them along by yelling at them.
It's not. I don't know if it's good to say, but I expect, or I would like to think, everyone puts in as much effort as I do. Like, I know, like, for example, my dad's probably at the workshop tonight, or he's probably watching this, but most Thursdays he's at the work tinkering on the car, and I'm not there, but he's putting that effort in, and that's what it takes to do well.
Yeah. So, like, I think, what night was it where I knew it was like serious coming back to service park, and it was like you were like game face on. It was like zip tying bonnet pins down and stuff like that. Like,
that's 2016.
That was 2016, wasn't it?
Yeah, because sort of
was that the Saturday night or the Friday night? Was that Friday night after Guja?
Yeah, Friday night after Guja Street. So like we came in as no one. Like, we were just some gravel guys with an RX-7, and there were other people like Craig Hazeman and I guess Matt Selly and those really top-notch tarmac drivers who
classic tarmac drivers.
Not even gravel too. Like, they're both very good gravel drivers. That they were the ones that people were watching, and we've come in and did what we did, and I just didn't know what to expect. So I didn't want anyone tampering with my car. So like, you just don't know, and it takes one hose clamp loosened off to ruin someone's event.
Yeah.
So you've just seeded all the people that have never thought of that with an idea now. They're all sitting there going like, that's a good idea. Thanks, Buzz.
No one's watching this anyway. It's all right. So like, coming in because that event was 2016 a Was that a Sunday as well? It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
no, I think it was just Saturday. I'm not sure.
It might have finished on the Saturday because they had the
Yeah.
Motorsport
That was a
Festival
short
on the
one,
Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Mm.
So coming into Saturday, like coming in after the media hype on Goodyear and like that whole everyone's in your face, everyone
Yeah.
knows who you are now. Everyone, you got a target on your back.
Yeah.
Like, because Saturday had arguably one of the greatest stages in
Saturday.
in
Yeah.
SA Rally and
Mount Lofty.
Mount Lofty. Go through that, like So coming to Saturday, all that stuff.
So
behind
Saturday
you,
morning we
Saturday
came into the
morning.
service park, and like mind games is what everyone plays. We lost Andrew. No.
Yes, we lost Andy. Keep going. We don't need him.
We'll keep going. And yeah, so everyone plays mind games, and I just didn't need to be around that at that point. So for anyone who knows, at Victoria Park, they have these really big grandstands from when I think they used to race horses around the oval.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
I just went to the top back corner of the grandstand, put my headphones in, and just focused. Like, again, another AIS trick is to just get yourself in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
And that right level of calm.
What were you listening to? Come on, was it something good?
Yeah,
like
actually,
pump up stuff, or was it
no.
like calming
You
stuff?
ready?
Like, yeah, I'm ready.
Was The Gambler by Kenny Rogers.
Oh, really? Yes.
Yes, because in
rest
the
in
same
peace,
sort of like, I guess, way, like gambling, you need to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Like, it's when to take risk and when not to take risk.
Yeah.
It is rallying in a way. So
so coming to say that you up in the back of the stands, just chilling.
Went out. I can't remember what stages we did that day except Mount Lofty.
Mount Lofty. I don't think anyone can remember anything other than Mount Lofty.
Yeah.
That day anyway.
So I'll reiterate it. We said it on the TV show, but at that time, I just started seeing my now wife, and she's going to be sitting up in the house smiling. And her parents lived sort of at the top of Mount Lofty in Upper Sturt, and I lived, down on the plains. So the best way to go and see her was via Mount Lofty.
Of course.
Green Hill Road, Mount Lofty. It's a brilliant bit of tarmac. The start is quite fast and technical, and then as you go higher, it tightens up and narrows up, and just the best.
Yeah.
And that was a road that not only myself, but a lot of people had driven. I mean, maybe not you because you live down south, but a lot of us had driven in our youth.
Yeah.
And it just went absolutely flat knacker. And I think I ended up telling Andrew at the end of the weekend, like I'd waited, 10 plus years to do that flat out. And I got my opportunity.
Because I was actually sitting next to Ash. I was standing with Ash on that stage too, and she was pretty worried. She was like,
it was full send. It wasn't like
because that was was it one of those Senna moments? Those like famous like Monaco qualifying
maybe
Senna
not
moment.
Senna
like
moment.
What I mean? Like you're just in the zone. You're gone. Throw the pace notes out the window. I know what I'm doing.
Mount Lofty was the last real tarmac stage before we did 2 stages around Victoria Park.
Yeah.
And we had, by that point, I think we had like a 30 plus second lead. So there was no real reason to do anything silly.
Yeah.
But if anyone has listened to the Nicky Griss podcast and he talks about Colin just going flat out, even though he didn't need to, that was my Colin moment.
Yeah.
Where I just said, I need to do this, not only to keep the lead, but for my own satisfaction.
Because
that's a good YouTube clip too. It's on that footage is on YouTube to watch.
My footage.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good watch.
I mean, I guess it was also one of those things. I don't know. Like, can we talk about Craig's comment about getting up Mount Lofty?
Well, you can talk about anyone's.
Wasn't it Craig that said you got to have 500 horsepower to win Mount Lofty? Or Green Hill Road or something like that?
I can't remember who said it.
Someone said it.
I do know what you're talking about.
Someone said it.
But I went into that event with like 200 kilowatts with a top mount intercooler. So by the time it got hot, it was probably making like 170, 160.
Yeah. And it was hot that week.
Yeah.
That weekend too.
And I think the key was just right foot flat.
So your footage there, I did that after I saw that. Now, anyone who's been in a rally car, you don't really understand the difference between fast road driving and full send rally, and like they're not even remotely close. And I remember after you posted that video on YouTube, I was like, okay, I'm curious to see, just to get my own gauge of the speed. So I went out, and it was just in a normal road car, and I drove that stage.
What normal road car?
Might have belonged to a automotive retailing business in Adelaide. Not at liberty to. It was in a boat. It was in a boat.
Or?
No, I went out. I was in a Evoque. Oh no, it was an XE, Jaguar XE.
Yeah, I remember it. It was a supercharged petrol one, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I was like, I'm going to drive that stage as fast as I can, but not go over the speed limit, and I'm not going to cross a double line. So I didn't go over 60, I didn't go over 80, and I didn't touch a wheel on the line, but otherwise went as quick as I could, sort of, a spirited road drive to do that, and timed myself. And it was just ridiculous to think about what you did. That it was like 6 minutes 50 something from memory, was it, or something like that?
No, it was like 4 minutes 5.
4 minutes 5.
4 minutes 5.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, I was nearly 13 minutes. I was just under 13 minutes to do that, I reckon, at road speed. And that's just an indication of like, you're not going fast. It's a whole different thing again. And even if you are on the road, but using two sides of the road and not sticking to speed limits, you're still not close to what you did. Like, yeah.
It was pretty damn good. Right?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
But in saying that though, like 2019 Adelaide Rally, the top 10 were at that time. Like you did it too.
But that was different. Like 2016, 2019, there was classic and modern and stuff like that.
But regardless, to commit to that much on a stage is pretty impressive feat.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it legally, and
that's the best bit.
And flat out, and both sides of the road without worrying about what's coming around the corner. And
clip armco to armco, just
go on. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then so won that event, really awesome. I won the event that I wanted to do since my childhood. And then decided to do it again in 2019. And at this time, last year, they changed the event to include modern cars. So that's where I got to do it with my best mate. The guy did it in his Evo, and they had Vipers and WRXs and all these, cheating extra fast cars. but yeah, equally as good and nice to be able to compare yourself to quicker machinery. But so for anyone who watched the podcast with Damien Reed, I was really unwell. Very unwell. So I went into the weekend with an upper respiratory infection, which then caused me to burst an eardrum. And I won't go into it, but I was so sick. Like, and it's a bittersweet memory because I was so ill. I didn't really enjoy myself as much as I should have. But again, we went in with a job to do. And at that point, or last year, we went in with a target on our back because people now knew the car has speed, the package has speed. And unfortunately, John is a cherry farmer. And at that point in time in December is peak harvest, so he couldn't get in the car. So changed the navigator, and Damien stepped up and did what he needed to do, and he did it brilliantly. And Guy, you've also had Damien navigate for you, like
told him all he knows.
There's a level of trust and commitment you need with a co-driver, and you can't just get in the car with anyone. You really need to believe that person is going to do exactly what they need to do at the right time. And Damien's that kind of person. I mean, he's proved it with you and me.
I guess for anyone that knows Damo, you might not believe that about him.
No. He's the biggest joker in the entire world. But
well, I mean, when we rocked up for the podcast last week with a 2-liter jug of milk, and
he had a 2-liter jug of milk in the car all weekend. And he was still drinking out like 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, how do you not have diarrhea?
Biggest risk. I was going to say the biggest risk to your event was that you were going to get E. coli poisoning from hot milk in the rally car in summer.
To be honest, like turbo rotaries, like they produce a bit of heat. They're not a cool running car. And
anyone want some cream? I've got it here.
Going out of fashion.
Yeah, that's
So-
hilarious.
Yeah, Damo doesn't drink alcohol. He
Yeah.
He loves
Milo.
milk and Milo.
Yeah.
Milk and
I
Milo, yeah.
was amazed that, like, off topic here, but like, I've never seen anyone drink Milo like that before. Like,
No.
I know that, like, one of my things when I was playing basketball was after a big training, I'd come back and I'd put, like, you know, you'd have a glass like this big, and you'd put, like, you know, maybe a quarter to a third of Milo in there, and then go. He fills the whole thing with Milo, and then keeps. It's
He's a machine.
unbelievable.
Well, he adds the milk to the Milo.
Yeah,
instead
pretty
of-
much.
Correct.
Yeah.
The air gap between the Milo and the tin is for milk.
So I guess that's a good segue. Like while we're on this, you know, I'm conscious we're an hour and a half now, so if we're going to get on to the important stuff, we should.
We can go for like 4 hours because we got double
Yeah.
guests. So
Makes sense.
So I'm just gonna give you a year. It's like a word association. I'm going to give you a year and a Queensland town. The year is 2012, and the town is Caloundra.
How much time you got?
I was yeah.
we're only 90 minutes in. We're all right. We still got
Yeah.
Rally stories.
This is like
everyone go grab a drink, sit down.
yeah. This is like
2
a
minutes.
week and a half saga. So where do we start?
This was the rally that, like, the surprises kept coming before.
What was the
during,
event? What was the event you went to? So 2012
Yeah.
Caloundra. What was
I
the
mean,
event?
look,
what did you do?
Okay, I'll go quickly through it all. So 2012, we were again racing in the Junior Australian Rally Championship. The first round was actually a rally colder, so the Thunderdome in Melbourne. They ran a really cool.
That's where that
Awesome.
Aston went into the concrete.
Yeah,
We,
the
do
Aston
you know what we
hit that
need to do?
concrete.
We need
Yeah.
to get a 24-hour Lemons team and go and do Thunderdome.
Deal.
Done.
Need to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it was a kind of like super special stage rally. Like the entire rally was super special stages around the Thunderdome. Really cool jumps through tunnels, and it was diabolically wet. And Buzz here did an excellent job, and actually, like, so you had to qualify. For every round of the Australian Rally Championship up to Coffs Harbour was a qualifying round in the Junior Championship, and if you won one of the rounds, you qualified for the final. So Buzz managed to qualify, finished third outright in the two-wheel drive ARC, which is an epic feat.
Yeah.
So he ticked the box really early. You know, got off to a flying start, I suppose. My Clio shat the box pretty early on, which is going to be a sign of things to come, I suppose. That was my first event in the car. So then I'm like, I really need to qualify, right? So the next round was
Just quickly on that key point too, you had a very interesting navigator at Calder too.
That's true. So around this time, I didn't really have a constant navigator until Damo put his hand up. And the Dungertons, I'm sure everyone knows Ross Dungerton, 5-time Australian champion, 3-time Asia Pacific champion. He'd just written a book and was trying to promote that in the Australian Rally Championship. He was commentating around the ARC around that time, and his wife was coming along to the rally, and I'd put the kind of call out that I needed a navigator, and you know, surprise, surprise, she kind of got in touch, and she'd done a lot of navigating for Ross and other pretty notable drivers. So yeah, that was pretty cool to have her in the car, and she gave me a lot of good tips and pointers that I keep with me till today. It's a good kind of experience, I suppose. Yeah.
Pass those on to Damo.
He did learn from you.
I told you.
Yeah.
Anyway, decided. Well, between Damo and myself, I suppose we wanted to go to Queensland to try and qualify for the Junior Australian Rally Championship in the Clare we had at the time, and I think, you know, thanks to Damo, he spent a lot of money getting us accommodation and entry fees and all that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of the thanks has to go to him for that, for even getting us there, I suppose. I'll probably let Buzz tell this story. So it was the night before we were set to leave, and
to drive from Adelaide to Brisbane, which is like 2,000 kilometres.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Key point.
Just around the corner.
And Michael came up to my place and thought I thought we'd test drive the car and just put a close
Hang on.
ratio box in it.
Yeah, at that point,
Yeah.
you rang me and said, "Oh, put this really good gearbox in it. Like it's going to be really strong, won't break, this and that." So I'm like, "Cool." Went around there to test this car, and what happened?
Bang.
Like not kabang,
Well-
like cracked the casing and like
Proper kabang.
bang.
Bang. Went
Yeah,
bang.
and I think the bit of it that was not the funniest, but we were testing on a bit of road that is unused.
Yeah. Old bit of main Victor Harbour Road
Yeah.
that was closed off that you could access from like a paddock in my family farm's property there, but you could only get a single car through. So when
You're not getting a car trailer through.
Yeah, so we those big rocks that they used to block roads off?
Yeah, like
One
half
of
the
those,
size of a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We had to drag one of them out the way. We had to cut half a tree down.
yeah.
To even get into the car.
Because when the gearbox blew up, all the bits got tangled in between all the gears, and it locked
Didn't
up.
roll.
Oh, so,
So it doesn't matter if it was out of gear; it was seized. It wasn't going anywhere.
man.
So our
So we
point
didn't-
earlier about being joint driver and mechanic and recovery crew while you're trying to prepare for the biggest rally of your career to date is the point.
So, and then from there, like a couple of hours to get it out. Fortunately, got a really good mate of Guy has a workshop across the road. Got it there, and we spent all night is genuinely all night changing the gearbox and pulling a broken gearbox apart, getting all the bits that were still good, putting it into one good gearbox, putting that in, and then testing it literally as the sun came up.
Yep.
And standing out on Victor Harbour Road, counting first gear, second gear, third gear. And then, went home, had a couple hours sleep, and then drove to Brisbane.
Didn't you guys sleep on a table on a roadside?
did.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
So we went from like Adelaide pretty much to the border of Queensland. I think it was
Pretty
around
much.
there,
somewhere
like
there.
flat
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And,
just to give people a perspective, I'm bringing up the thing, the map that shows, because I mean, people, if anyone's coming in from the UK, you're not going to know.
I don't know. It's like driving from
20
the
hours.
It's more than
2,000
UK
kilometers.
top to bottom. It's 22 hours. It's like 2 or 3 times the UK
it's
top to
longer than
bottom.
that.
Yeah.
So we
It's a
sort
long
of got
drive.
towards the border there, and we were just done. Like couldn't go any further. We'd worked all night the night before, and then driven like madmen, and didn't have a choice. So I was deathly afraid of sleeping on the ground in a truck stop in Queensland. Like
I didn't have anything against it.
No. so I slept on top of a
picnic
a
table.
picnic table. Yeah, like a concrete picnic table.
What, one that was at the truck stop?
Yeah, like one bolted to the ground because I thought, that'll keep me safe.
That'll be safer.
Yeah. And I didn't.
Because scary dudes can't climb up on top of a picnic
No,
table as well.
but it made me feel better. And then fast forward through all of that, got to Queensland.
We did get there, picked up Damo on the way to the
Yeah,
airport.
we saw our first Audi Quattro. Not Stuart Wilkins. He's got the Escort.
Stuart Reid.
Stuart Reid.
Yeah,
Stuart Reid built that
Mm.
Audi Quattro
Yep.
S1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, like that. Those things that you always remember. Like that was parked on the side of the road in a small suburb in Caloundra, and it's just.
I mean, I guess what's worth mentioning is it was a APRC, so Asia Pacific Rally Championship round as well. So it was an international event. There's a lot of guys from around the Pacific region competing. Chris Atkinson was driving a pretty cool Skoda. If anyone knows, he drove in the World Rally Championship. The only Australian to really do so on a pretty common basis.
Or competitive level.
Yeah.
And he's still competing in American Rallycross now.
Yeah.
Factory Subaru driver in America. So had a good career.
Factory Subaru driver for the WRC and all that.
Yeah.
So.
But
Look, where do we start? I mean, the rally didn't really go to plan, as a lot of my events do. Especially in
the Clio.
No good.
So,
No good.
You went. How did you go from like Alpha to Clio as
Nah,
like
Corolla.
Corolla? I know,
Went
but
from
Alpha
unreliable to reliable to
unreliable.
There was a
Crash the reliable.
Yeah, crash the reliable.
Reliable, and then back to unreliable.
Yeah, look, I think second gear, something happened in the gearbox, and second gear got locked out on one of the first stages for the entire weekend. And because we had to put the taller final drive back in it, that was one of the most handy gears. And so it was kind of like rev it out in first, boom in third, and yeah, we were suffering. And look, we did finish the rally. We got to the end, and we were pretty stoked about that. We didn't qualify for the Australian Junior Rally Championship, unfortunately. I think who was it? Luke Page is it in an XL did. It's quite a grunter XL, to be honest.
That was a good car.
Yeah,
Big block.
yeah,
Big block.
So,
But and then after every rally is the after party, and again on that Nicky Grist podcast, the after parties for rallies are pretty good things.
what was your memories of that, Andrew?
Oh yeah, that's right. You were there.
Yeah.
So I was working obviously back in Adelaide at the time, and I had this great idea that I didn't have any leave available. And I was going to fly in the Friday night, get a rental car, drive up to Caloundra, take photos for 2 days, and then I had I still had to be at work in Adelaide on Monday morning, so I had a red eye flight out of Brisbane, which involved me leaving Caloundra at about sort of 3:30 a.m. to get back to Brisbane in time to get the sort of 6 a.m. flight out. And so to be fair, I came for a couple of drinks at the party and then sort of retired on pretty early and slept through most of the malarkey. But poor GT got locked out of the hotel. And I remember, being very cold and finding a very solemn guy unable to get back into the into the building. But it was
we'd all partied really hard that night, like really hard. And at one point when I think we were starting to think about leaving, Guy had a trophy. And we were like, you didn't win a trophy like that, Guy. Whose trophy is that?
Oh, it might have been someone called Chris.
We basically said, Guy, you've nicked Chris Atkinson's trophy. You can't do that, So
he didn't want it.
We all then debated whether we should give the event winner's trophy back to him, and we eventually did.
His co-driver was furiously looking at him as they were trying to leave. We thought they'd
did they see the funny side of it, or was it very?
I don't think they knew. I think we just kind of set it down and ran off. But
a lot of our other crew, I think, retired a bit earlier because they were a bit sick. Damo retired first because he really wasn't feeling well. And people kept coming into the hotel room that night, waking him up, and basically he got tired of it all, and he put the phone off the hook because you had to ring up to get it in the door and everything. So by the time I got there and I was the last person to rock up, I couldn't ring in, and I was stuck on the porch in a dress shirt. My phone had gone flat. I didn't know what to do, so I just sat there, and unfortunately,
I think you realised that I'd be leaving early, so you patched yourself up against my hire car, thinking that Andrew would be able to let me in. But I'd locked the door, I didn't have keys, so I grabbed my bags and locked the door. And this poor guy going like, "Cozy," and I felt so bad because I was like, "Mate, there's nothing I can do. The doors are locked. I'm locked out of the place too." So I think I gave you my jacket and told you to have a nap in the foyer or something. But good times. And that little Corolla you're talking, I mentioned Corolla earlier. That little red Corolla, the skid plate, made it all the way there. Did recce all the way back. I don't
know what I was thinking driving that thing around the country, and I drove to Coffs Harbour several times in it even. Good car, and like we said, like the stories kept going throughout this entire weekend, and a few hours on the Monday out of Caloundra, the Corolla.
Were we in Toowoomba?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And we'd parked at a Macca's, and we went in, got a feed, and came back out, and the Corolla wouldn't start. I'm like, what? What's going on here? And we delved into it and eventually found that it was the fuel pump had let go. And
this is at
rang
like
around a
4
little
o'clock
bit.
in the
Yeah,
afternoon.
it was bad.
Yeah, and went inside to use. I think we would use the phone at McDonald's, and they were like, "Oh, you're in a bad part of Toowoomba. Like, you don't want to be here when it gets dark." So running and scrambling, got this fuel pump, got it on,
Yeah, it's
and
just
got
down
it
the road.
running. And you were like, "Awesome!" And I think you went to use the loo as we were about to leave. So didn't I think it would be a great idea to pull a spark plug lead off of that car just to mess with him? So he's taken off out of the Macca's, and this poor Corolla's going up the road. And we're in the tow car thing, and this is hilarious. Yeah, poor guy's white knuckled in traffic, and eventually,
Because those real rally adventures. Because Buzz, wasn't it? You had that Commodore at that time, and didn't you end up then buying some spare parts from a guy's front yard to fix the Commodore? Or is that a different?
so we
trip?
borrowed that Ute.
Yeah.
And it blew the thermostat up just after the Hay Plain. And for anyone who doesn't know the Hay Plain, it's like hundreds of kilometers of nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure enough. Down the road, there was a Holden dealer. Managed to get another tap.
Yeah.
Away you go. Yeah.
And then also lost a rear quarter window on the Clio. Just disappeared overnight as we were towing, and just crazy.
All of the things that these professional teams with their transporters and their planes miss out on.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Wouldn't
Wouldn't it be nice?
Wouldn't trade it for the world.
No.
Not at all.
But yeah, there's plenty more to that story, but we'll
Yeah.
Save that for another time.
yeah.
Do you want to get more into, I guess, finishing off that junior?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So the next round was Rally SA back in Adelaide that we both contested a lot of times. I really needed to qualify. It was the last chance. And going in, there was still about 3 guys yet to qualify, and I think I still had problems with the Clio that weekend. But managed to drag it home. The other guys had a few mechanical dramas themselves, so managed to qualify, which was amazing. And I think Michael was meant to just be cruising around that weekend, sort of as a bit of a test for the upcoming final. I didn't really go to plan though.
Cruising was not the word. we cruised into a tree. Yeah. And
Which I mean to note, so Michael was the car in front of me on that stage, and it was the first corner. You couldn't see around it, and unfortunately, Buzz went wide and knocked into a tree, and a branch came down across the road, and I was the next car.
Yeah. So, touching on the pace noting thing, I'm going to blame the pace notes. I wrote them. No, I actually sat down.
The good driver always would.
Yeah. We actually sat down with Bernie Webb not long after that event and ran through the footage and the pace notes and found that I'd made an error in my pace noting and missed that the road narrowed. And because of that, we ran wide off the road and hit a gum tree with the left rear quarter, brought that tree down onto the road, and then spun round and hit the front driver's side A-pillar and bent all the floor in, and it was a mess, an absolute mess. And my co-driver held the door closed as we finished the stage. Glass everywhere, mud, just all bad. So that was pretty much... Well, actually, did we continue on after that? I think we did, yeah. But yeah,
Up in a stack of logs later on.
that's right, and that's
I remember that.
I've actually blocked that out of my memory. Yeah, like ripped the car off. It was all done. So,
but I think this is the interesting, and I guess you don't want to speculate about the what ifs and that, but in both of your careers, there's so many things that if just could have happened, nothing in your control, and I guess that's rally, that's motorsport, that's
exactly it.
That it happens, and you just gotta kind of take it and laugh about it, on a podcast 4 years later. So
8 years.
8 years
later. Jeez, my man.
It's going quick, Andrew.
But yeah, so you qualified.
Yeah, I qualified, and look, it was you were meant to be cruising through it as a bit of a warm up, and then had a fairly hectic 8 weeks or whatever it was.
7 weeks reshell a car.
Rebuild the car.
Yeah, all bad.
So, and then we both showed up to Coffs Harbour for the Australian Rally Championship final with there was probably about 5 or 6 crews who had all qualified, and the cream of the crop, I suppose.
Yeah.
And there's still a photo out there, us lined up in the main street there before the rally, all thinking we were going to be crowned the
Winners.
The winners. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think I was seated last, and going into the first day, I wasn't meant to, come out on top. I think that's what ended up happening though. Through other guys had some misfortune. I drove pretty well. The Clio held together for once. Unfortunately, Michael was going well up until the diff let go. He hit something.
Yeah, well, basically just jumped the car wrong and hit the casing on the ground. It split the casing, leaked the oil, and that's the end of the diff. And there's a lot more to that story. It broke some bits in the suspension, and it was too hard to fix. It wasn't going to happen. So that was the end of my weekend. Yeah.
So whilst I have a really great love affair with Coffs Harbour, I've been there 5 or 6 times now for the rally. Absolutely love it. And the WRC circus, all that. Buzz is completely off.
No, I hate the place. Just touching on that, if Andrew Admiral and the team from Adelaide Hills Rally are watching, we need to get the WRC for a 1-day tarmac, 1-day gravel rally here in Adelaide. That's the way to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, arguably,
100%.
It's the best place to do it in Australia.
Yes.
Yeah. Service park in town, do a super special around Victoria Park. Like, it'd just be the best. The best.
Yep.
So,
just need to.
If you're watching, we need funding.
I think our poor Stephen Marshall's got bloody every person at the moment screaming out for funding. Anyway, so very good.
I guess finishing off that story, went into the Sunday, the last day. I was leading and pretty much had to consolidate, I suppose. We were in a pretty good position, had a big lead. Unfortunately, got a flat tire about 5 k's into a massive 30k stage. And Damo and I at the time weren't really WRC athletes, and you see them changing a tire in a minute. Took us about 4.5, I think, a long time.
It's not bad.
We even left the spare the wrecked tire and rim in the scrub. It's still over there, ready for us to collect one day.
Speaking of tires and rims in the scrub, what was that video of one Clio coming over a crest and a wheel becoming separated and?
What do you got to search to find it?
Rally car loses wheel.
Yeah, it went viral.
It did. It made it into one of the crash compilations, didn't it? I remember
well, millions of views.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we're just going to see if we can bring it up.
Was that Rally SA the next year in the Clio? Came over a rise and the rear stub axle let go with the wheel attached and on the other.
It's pretty funny. Is that the one?
That's the first one.
That's the first one? I don't know if we can get away with playing it on YouTube because we might get in trouble. Might get blocked, but
maybe we'll link it in the comments.
Well, I just give you a screenshot of it because we can kind of get away with that.
Yeah, you could.
There's
on live leak.
Yeah.
On live leak.
If you then scroll forwards in that video, the car goes out of shot,
and there's just this
and the wheel rolls past,
bouncing down. It's fantastic.
And
amazing.
If you Google it, there's rally car loses wheel and rally car loses wheel again.
Because the exact same thing happened in Coffs, Queensland.
Yeah, in Coffs. This is 2013, a bit later on, the same year though. And basically, we were going down a series of really tight corners, a mountain to a straight, and around one of those corners, the front left stubs basically sheared off, and the wheel came off, and we kind of stumbled down through these corners and found an area to park, and sort of it was all over. I got out of the car, sort of taking my helmet off, and as I did, I looked around, and the wheel went past us, and it went. Fortunately, it hit a tree because the other side of the tree was a sheer drop into the rainforest. But a bloke again managed to get that all on camera. Managed to get us stopping and the wheel going past. What are the chances?
Incredible.
Did you ever nut out? It just wasn't built to do that.
Probably not. It's a series of things, wasn't it? We were chasing our tail with the car all the time. I think we had 2 good events in the car, and the one of them was where we had the flat tire in it. So we just had a myriad of issues with the old Clio. When it was quick, but that was few and far between.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Still, best videos out there.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I guess we finish on an instruction. Google buzzes Mount Lofty pass. Google rally car loses wheel. Rally car loses wheel again.
Actually, I mean, I don't know. I've had a question come through on the Instagram, so it'd probably be a good one to get into, actually, which could be quite long. And I guess it goes into like the AIS stuff, and it was by Gordon, who's doing a bit of tarmac rallying in his Volvo. Probably another great reliable car to do it in. But he said, because he asked me specifically, he goes, do we get to ask questions? And I guess from his point, starting out in tarmac rallying and trying to go from that, I guess, spirit kind of toury stage
to a more
competitive stage.
Yeah.
So he's asked, like, what intimidates you the most every time you get behind the wheel? Is it about speed, consistency? Is there something as a driver you could recognize mid-stage, perhaps you're driving with too much enthusiasm, or do you rely on your co-driver rein in? Like, I guess start with that first one. Like, what intimidates you guys the most, or does nothing intimidate you? Just icemen behind the wheel. I know guys are a bit more like that, I think.
Yeah, I don't think intimidate's the right word. I think if you go into an event and you aren't nervous, then there's something wrong. But
what is that nervous though? Like, for people who don't get into a car at the start of a rally stage, like, what is the nervousness? Like, is it about the car? Is it about your own ability?
The nervous is
about
the last 2 hours of funny stories of losing wheels and wrecking cars and just
it's a lot
all of
hinging
that.
on it,
Yeah,
I suppose. Like, you've done a lot of preparation just to get there, rather than do it. And you kind of, we don't drive cars every day competitively. So it doesn't come supernatural, I suppose.
And then if you don't drive at that flat out maximum attack level, you almost feel disappointed in yourself. But, and just on that too, like, there's a lot of effort and time and money and, being away from home at the workshop, doing recce, like there's days of recce. To get ready for stuff like this, and unless they stipulate recce time, but and all of that and time and pressure and money, and especially if you've got a sponsor that's fronted the money to do the event, that's the pressure that I feel more than anything.
Yeah, right. So it's more about everything that's on it, and
the driving and just drive.
Yeah,
just go and do what you can.
Yeah, the confidence comes from your homework, from the preparation. The better prepared you are, the more confidence you're going to have to go quick. You can drive the car as fast or as slow as you want, and it doesn't matter. But if you want to drive it quicker than everybody else out there, you're going to have to do the work beforehand.
Yeah, do the preparation. Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Exactly it.
So I guess like the second part of that question is, he asks, is it about outright speed, or I guess all those other things like consistency and I guess figuring out where you're at during a stage. Like, I mean, I guess that's one of the big things, from my point of view anyway, with rally, is the difference between that and like a sprint circuit race somewhere where it's 10 laps is, that you've got days to get through an event and still come out on top. Like, so I guess talk through that kind of thing, and
like
your own individual
cars have got so reliable now that it's pretty much flat out all the time. And if you're not flat out all the time, he's gone faster than you. So.
But I guess in your recce and your pace noting and that you identify bits and stages that you might take it easy. It doesn't really apply to tarmac, but it's certainly dirt. You might, if it's rough, if there's big creek crossings or whatever, you're probably going to take it a bit easier to make sure that you get through the event. You got to finish.
To finish first you must finish.
Or even as Damien Reed said, to finish last, first you must finish.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess like Yeah, it depends on the event and preparation. Again, I think that just comes back to preparation with everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think rallying is more about experience than circuit racing.
Just doing Ks.
And you just got to get that experience and do the miles really, and that's where the speed comes from.
Yeah, cool.
It is really difficult to start in tarmac rallying too, though.
You think it's harder than getting into gravel?
Yeah, because it's so expensive. And, and pardon?
Right, I was just saying.
Yeah. It is, yeah. It's just so expensive. Whereas, like Damien said, you can do club gravel stuff for hundreds of dollars, where the cheapest competition level tarmac rally is thousands just to enter. And ignore accommodation, tires, fuel, food, travel costs. It's and
then I guess as well, if you start at that gravel level stage and you start with those small events, you're just naturally going to progress up and learn to master faster and faster and more serious cars. Whereas if you do have the funding to start in tarmac rally, you're more likely then to be able to afford to start in something that's a bit more exciting or a bit faster. And suddenly you're starting right up here without all this kind of foundation underneath.
And that's probably where that's probably where that intimidation comes from, is you have to start up here, and I've always been a big believer in, if you can drive a car fast on gravel, you can drive fast on tarmac. But to do that tarmac to gravel is extremely hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, my tip would be to start on the dirt. But
well, I guess if you guys are doing rally school instructing before, is I'm sure you get a lot of you have tons of hot shots come through. Oh, buddy, look at me, I'm Colin McRae. I can
I had one guy.
Is there any crazy stories?
I had one guy who rolled up and he was getting belted into the car, and I'm sitting there just looking at the roof going, another friend. And he said to me, he's like, oh, I don't know if you've seen on YouTube, there's some Colin McRae instructional videos. And you might have seen it. He's in a Focus going flat out with some news reporter chick in the passenger seat, talking about handbraking and oversteer and understeer and all of that. He's like, I watched all those last night. I think I got a good handle on it. And I'm like, okay. Well, I see where this is going.
Strap those belts down extra tight.
Yeah, exactly. But at that point, you just pull the reins tighter and just,
In saying that, like, you can never really pick them in that job. You might get a big burly guy that's driven a Commodore with 20s on it and stockies on the back to there, and you're fearing for your life. And then they can be the nicest, gentlest driver, or even really slow.
Yeah, women are the best at rally school because they listen.
Yeah, they listen.
Yeah, they listen, and they've got finesse.
Right. Whereas, I guess too many guys are out there to prove what they can do and
make pizzas with the steering wheel, and it just isn't good. Make pizzas. Windscreen wipers are going, indicators are on, and it's just a mess.
Yeah, just trying to be trying to do too much with the car.
Clutch kicking and all drive doesn't work.
Yeah, no. And I love to, like, when they're trying to be a little bit arrogant, I guess. You say the way to go faster is to use the brake more, and in a way that is, because it's really about using the brake to get the car to move. But they just can't get that, and that's not what rally school's about. Is not to teach them to be a fast rally driver, but to get the experience.
It's just to go have a good experience in a dirt car, right?
But it is rewarding when you can get someone, bring them from down here to up here, and send them away with a bunch of new skills and a greater appreciation for their own driving. It's pretty rewarding.
But I think I would second, not that I've really done that much on gravel, but I would second that just from my own limited experience. If you drive on tarmac and you kind of don't, in theory, the car doesn't slide that much and you're kind of good, but then you try on real loose gravel and you're doing 30, 40 Ks an hour, and you really can get the experience of weight transfer, of setting a car up for the corner, of really steering with the throttle in a rear-wheel drive car, all of these very basic concepts that you guys have perfected. But if you've just driven on tarmac, you kind of, you need to know that for tarmac rallying, but you might not have actually experienced it. Whereas a play on gravel, you can really feel the weight and the way the car moves and pitch and angle. And so
like slip on tarmac usually means trees, and that's something you really need to be, at one with, I guess. So, was there anything else?
No, Gordon was the only one who really sent anything in. I mean, for me, like, even though our mates haven't really spoken about it, what's the go for next year? Like, I mean, Guy's been lucky enough to
This year.
Well,
They're running.
It's
Aren't they?
no, not this year. Well, maybe
It's
this
next year now.
Yeah, next year. Like, we're talking next year. Anything that happens this year is like a nice thing. But like, what's the plans for next year? You know, are we going to see the SCS liveried, HKS liveried RX-7 out and about?
Yeah, you should have seen it this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. Got other things on the burner, but yeah, I mean, I'll just do as much motor racing as I can within the budget.
Yep.
So yeah.
Like gravel, tarmac.
Yeah,
like,
gravel. Want to do a full state championship, and like, if I can gather the funding to do Adelaide Rally, we'll do it. But it is just a dollars thing. It's as simple as that. You know.
Yeah.
And we should as well take the opportunity, Guy, to give you ample opportunity to plug the hell out of your sponsor and your your cars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a good mate of mine owns an air compressor company up in Murray Bridge, Independent Air Solutions, and he's been able to get a fair bit of business actually out of a lot of rally competitors in the short time we've been together. He came aboard for Adelaide Hills Rally and Adelaide Rally last year. It was meant to be Coffs, but myself and Zane Amaral, my co-driver, drove all the way to Coffs for the WRC round last year, only to turn around and go home, unfortunately, due to the fires, which was pretty disappointing, but there was worse stuff going on at the time. Which is, easy to understand, I suppose, but which gave us the opportunity to do Adelaide Rally, which was definitely a bit of a different experience for me. Like, I grew up down south, I'd never driven Gorge Road prior to wrecking it for Adelaide Rally last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he lived way down south.
Yeah, but how do you not go? Like, how do you not go on a weekend drive? Like, did you not just go for a weekend drive?
To anywhere, like.
I know that.
Yes, it is. It's a road to heaven.
Absolutely. Right. So you've never driven it before that?
No.
And you went pretty quick there.
Yeah, look,
Like,
for the first few days, it was kind of trying to learn the car and learn how quick I could go, I suppose.
Yeah. So for people who listening who don't know what guy was driving that event, it was a Evo 7.
Yeah. So look, we like I said, we changed the suspension and brakes and taken the turbo restrictor out because we have to run a restrictor for gravel rallies and Australian Championship type events. For this, we could run an unrestricted type setup. So had a bit more power to play with, but definitely not as much as the top guys. And sort of after the first couple of days, I got a bit of a handle on it, and I was getting a bit frustrated because I still wasn't, touching the times of the top guys. So it was a really good experience. And I think we finished fourth overall in the end of the weekend, which was a pretty good effort. I still did manage to put a bit of a scratch on the car on the final day.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
I just set a second fastest time in near Lobethal in the stage before, and we were on a bit of a charge. And went a bit too harder into the next one, broke a bit late, and put a bit of scratch on it, which we're still fixing.
That looks good though. So, so plans for 2021 with.
Well, like this year, but if Adelaide Rally goes ahead, I'd like to go back there. We're trying to work on getting a higher horsepower engine so we can compete and have a go at outright. I'd love to do that because I really enjoyed the rally and really got a handle on it by the end of the weekend. And try and do as many dirt rounds as we can, and definitely going into next year, who knows? At least a state championship effort. Hopefully some interstate stuff. I know the World Rally Championship's coming back to Coffs Harbour next year. So.
Should be coming to Adelaide.
Yeah, absolutely.
We might be going to Bathurst even. So.
To Bathurst.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very interesting. So definitely want to be there for that. And just, like I said, we just try and do as many events as our budget allows.
So if there's anyone out there who want to sponsor the guys, go ahead.
Yeah.
Should you take anything at the moment?
Just on that too. So I should also give a shout out to my boss, Mark, from ACM Electrical, who has fronted some cash to get us to events as well. It's things like that.
Well, not only cash, but the time, the ability to do that too. Like, because that's a factor when you got to work
to knock off early and go and have a shower before you spend 6 hours that evening in the workshop. Yeah, it's invaluable. Like,
yeah. Yeah, very lucky to have a boss like that who's understanding and supportive of your endeavors in rallying.
He's keen.
Well.
He's into motor racing. So,
yeah.
It's,
Absolutely.
It's very good.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note,
probably should wrap
Andrew,
this show
you got
up.
anything else? Or are you good?
No, we're good. I think we're good, boys. Thank you for joining us. Buzz and GT Rally Adventures, all about it. So I guess we'll keep tuned in to the adventures.
Yeah, and I guess your Instagram, if anyone wants to go have a follow, is
Guy Rally.
Guy Rally. People how to follow you.
Yeah, I need to remember what my Instagram is though.
Mike 86 Mac 10.
There you go.
What is the
Rolls off the tongue?
They are both of my forum usernames from the early 2000s together. I'm of the forum generation. They don't exist now.
Was that like nissansylvia.com or like it was?
Yeah, A86 Driving Club, Nissan Sylvia, Performance Forums.
Hardtune.net.
Yeah. Man, we could do a whole podcast on just like digging through forum archives, I reckon. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty sick.
Better be careful. But anyway, boys, thank you. It's been great.
Thanks
very much, guys.
It was good. It was great. And I guess Andrew, you want to? Podcast will be up on Spotify. And
podcast up, Spotify, iTunes.
Although we'd like some big dollars from Spotify too. That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, Joe Rogan's just sold out $100 million. So I mean,
$150 million
from Spotify
to get his podcast on the Spotify. Crazy.
Yeah. We are accepting substantially less than that, so good value. Jumping on the ground floor,
rallying for a year with 150 million.
Yeah, well, they give us some, we can give you some. Happy days.
Anyway, thank you for following at Sportscar Safari on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm Andrew. Luke, thank you for joining us. It's been real.